This is the smallest country in the world, but its history is epic.
There was some mercenaries, his shotgun's gone off right next to his face. They blew one of them up, sailed past and shouted, "You're next."
7 nautical miles from the coast of Britain is this sea fort that dates back to World War II. Paddy Roy Bates occupied it in the 1960s to start a pirate radio station because the fort was in international waters and outside of the UK's jurisdiction. But he declared it as an independent country in 1967, renaming it the Principality of Sealand. To this day, Sealand has a community who live there and keep the micronation going. It has its own coins, stamps, flag, and even a national anthem. First, we had to enter the country, and there's only one way up.
Oh, but yeah. Okay, get ahead.
Hey.
Gary.
Just sat on a swing above the sea.
Welcome to Sealand.
Thanks for having us.
We'll go straight through to immigration, then I'll show you around.
Sealand doesn't allow many visitors, so this might be the rarest passport stamp in the world.
Delighted with that.
Down we go.
2 floors down on the North Tower. Didn't know what I expected around here, but it definitely wasn't this. It's Sealand's gym. You see the towers in the middle of the sea. It really strikes you how crazy the thought is of living in that tower, under the sea even.
Yeah. You have to really love what you're doing to be that, committed.
It's just crazy to think that when they built this, they would never have envisaged that one day this will become a micronation.
My grandpa was involved in pirate radio in the 60s. The UK government was driving all the radio pirates, if you like, off of the ships and the forts and everything that were inside the British territorial waters. So my grandpa looked for a new jurisdiction. So he came to Sealand. He had to fight for it, to take it over. But when he did, he had an even bigger idea, and that was to start a country. And ever since then, it's existed outside of any other interference or any other jurisdiction. He was definitely a maverick, my grandpa, and nobody was going to tell him he couldn't do it.
The citizens of Sealand have always been willing to fight for their country, even when the Royal Navy came knocking.
Well, the Navy should have blown these up because they were built in international waters. There's 4 of these forts, or was. They blew one of them up in front of my dad as a message to him, sailed past and shouted, "You're next." They were trying to drive closer and closer, and my dad fired a couple of warning shots across the bow of the naval ship. And then it came in really close, so he fired a whole magazine right across the bow of the boat, and then they took off back to the UK.
In 1978, they found themselves facing an armed invasion from international mercenaries.
The Clink. This is the Clink. This is the infamous jail cell, the bottom of the North Tower. My grandpa was putting a deal together with some Germans, Dutch and Austrian guys. It was to build a casino and all kinds of things like that. It was a nice plan, but they decided to write my grandpa out of it. When my dad was on Sealand on his own, some guys arrived in a helicopter, but he recognised one of the guys. They were part of this deal. It turned out, obviously, to be a trap. There was some mercenaries alongside them. My dad, he was then held captive for 3 days. He then made his way back to the UK. He rearmed with his dad and regrouped with some friends, like loyal Sealanders, and they flew out to Sealand at dawn, abseiled down out of a helicopter. My dad was the first one down. He had a sawn-off shotgun tied around his neck. He's run off of the top deck. His shotgun's hit the deck just as the mercenaries are coming out of the building. His shotgun's gone off right next to his face. And they've all thrown their hands up in surrender. And they led them out. The mercenaries and those guys were let go. And one guy who had a Sealand passport was tried for treason, and he was thrown in this jail.
Coming at someone with a shotgun is illegal in the UK, and they tried to try him for
firearms offences.
Offences.
The court in the UK found they had no jurisdiction over Sealand.
Which Sealanders consider sort of de facto recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as well, following the invasion of '78, Germany sent a diplomat to Sealand by helicopter to negotiate for the release of the prisoner. If that's not de facto recognition, I mean, what is? I think the reason that my grandfather started Sealand was complicated. I don't think it was a simple thing. I think he was very angry at the UK government, the way they treated him. He'd served during the Second World War with honours, And he then wanted to start the radio station, and they were making it extremely hard for him. They were really brutally cracking down on them. He was very angry about that. Plus, just his character and his style was just that he was always going to do something a little bit out there. You know, he was never going to live a normal life. So he came here with the intention of doing pirate radio, but then thought that the stronger thing to do would be start his own country.
The Sealand community continues to break new boundaries while upholding Roy Bates's original vision. And if you want to be part of that vision, you can get an e-citizenship or your very own noble title. And like any self-respecting country, Sealand has its own national football team.
The national team, we're on several tours against teams like the Chagos Islands, all over. People that feel underrepresented or feel like they have claims to be a country and they're not recognised.
Could I become an international footballer?
You can try out for our team. We'll see how that goes and get you in the national team. Why don't you go put the football shirt on? We'll see what you got, and if you're good, you got a space on the team.
What do you reckon, eh? Can I play for Sealand, please?
From what I've seen, maybe the reserves.
Never give up on your dreams, kids.
It was time to bid farewell to Sealand, a place that stands for independence and freedom, with just enough renegade spirit that will see the world's smallest country live on for generations.
Sealand is freedom, you know. We're here, we're free to do what we want and live our lives on our own terms. And that's the thing that really resonates with me, that resonates with most of the community, is living your life on your own terms. I've grown up with it. This is all I've known forever, you know? And so I've always expected to look after it, to take care of it and, yeah, pass it on to the next generation when the time comes as well.